Hello, and welcome back to another fic from the depths of my WIP vault. Today, we have for you a Batfam fic idea, as tends to be the majority of my current fic ideas, because yes, I am firmly in the Batfam fandom, just that is most of what I read. I occasionally take maybe a week jaunt into something else or an odd fic here or there, but it's mainly at DCU Batfam stuff right now. So the idea I bring to you today is it went through a little bit of a journey, I'd say. So the title is Her Loving Embrace, and the working rough title is Cursed Gotham AU / Magical Girl Batfam. Those don't quite line up, but they kind of do. If you stick around long enough, you will see. But yes, this fic also is a bit different than the other ones I've done in the past. They've had info, maybe some timeline stuff, all that, characters, whatever. This one is just one big brainstorm. This is more of an AU idea than plot, and if this AU were to be narrowed, a lot of the things in the brainstorm in that case could be moved to places like info or characters. But because this doesn't really have any plot attached to it right now, there's no need to settle on any specific ideas. It's all just brainstorming. So I will begin. I'm gonna go through the brainstorm and tell you about the process and how Cursed AU and Magical Girl Batfam could possibly exist in the same universe. So this started out as just Curse / Sentient Gotham AU. And it started off with just a brainstorm about how this could affect my favorite character, which is Tim. So, Tim's parents were passing through Gotham for a meeting or gala when Janet gave birth. They left after, but Gotham had left her mark on them as the parents of her newly born child. So they somehow always found themselves drawn back to Gotham, even if they didn't want to be there. Eventually, they found the thing that worked best was having their house there, but leaving to travel the world. Every few months, Gotham would draw them back for a few days or weeks before they could escape again. They came to resent Tim because his birth was what shackled them to Gotham, which contributed towards their neglect and abuse. So yes, for this, going down the common road of Tim having neglectful parents. It is extremely common. I've not read many Batman, or I don't think I read any non-Batman related comics at all, but I haven't read a lot of them to begin with. So most of what I know comes from wikis when I'm doing fic writing or just other fanfics. But it does not seem that this is very canon, but it's so common. And I just love Tim, so he has to suffer. It is the common fic writer thing of hurting your blorbos. You gotta torture them. Anyway, a sub-point on that is they never got too physical. After one incident with a young Tim, they hurt him pretty badly and left. Gotham was sick of these people hurting her child, so she took it out on them by causing them to get into an implausible accident immediately after. After that, they made sure not to put his life in danger again, even stopping from touching him completely out of paranoia. So yeah, fully going into Tim does not have great parents, but he has a Gotham. That's an even better parent, isn't it? Just an entire cursed, kind of sentient city. What more could a boy ask for? So a lot of the bullet point brainstorm ideas at the beginning are way more scattered than some of the later ones. This was just getting down some general vibes more than a flow of plot, because like I said, this doesn't really have any plot right now. So, part of Jason's pit madness was actually the effect of being separated from Gotham so long. So the longer he stayed home, the better he got. Even if they don't want to, Gothamites will get the urge to come back, and if they're unable to, the need to return will get to a level that overtakes some of their mental faculties. So yeah, like just going on a roll from the initial idea with how it affects Tim's parents to how would this affect other characters, just expanding on the initial little plot bunny that I got, or not even plot bunny, just AU bunny, I guess. Don't know what you call that. Part of the reason Batman, even surrounded by aliens and supers, is one of the most intimidating heroes out there is thanks to Gotham's favor dripping off him like a curse. Magic users especially don't like being around him unless they are familiar with Gotham's brand of magic and are able to associate what would normally be a horrifying curse to stay away from as a horrifying mark of favor not to mess with. The people of Gotham are allowed to leave as long as they will come back. They may feel a tug from Gotham every once in a while, but nothing that forces them back. Which is why Dick is fine to live in Bloodhaven, because Gotham knows she will always be his home, and he'll always come back to her. Slightly menacing, but no, it is just slightly menacing. Affectionate, but it's slightly menacing. For those of you who check out this is kind of unrelated, but for those of you who check out the actual, outline document, you will see I have the little U with the two little dots over it. I don't know off the top of my head what that's specifically called, but something, just I guess this is more general writing stuff, it's something I love, is I got a program through GitHub called Espanso or something. ESPANSO is how it's spelled. I got that so I could more easily use symbols like the funky little U in Bloodhaven in my writing. Because going searching up stuff to copy and paste that in takes way too much time. But I have it so if I type in the 2 colons, a U, and then a second U, it'll switch that to the funky little U. So I don't even have to think about it. It's super easy, and it's actually super nice. I now use that program actually to type out my full username really fast, which is nice when I need to use it over and over again when I'm uploading content, when I'm having to repeat do it. And it definitely could be used for more annoying names, ones I have present in Drifting Through the Cosmos, the ship name of the Mina alien people. I can't type that. That will not be typed in my keyboard because that is not possible. So I have to go back and copy and paste it every time. But theoretically, if I were less lazy, I could easily add it to here and just shortcut it. So if you have weird, funky little letters and names and stuff in your writing, consider getting some sort of program that just lets you just shortcut it in. It's very helpful. Anyway, moving on back to the story idea. Sorry about the tangent, but people born in Gotham automatically bear her claim and are her children. Those who move to Gotham later in life have to endear themselves to her to be claimed. It's difficult to survive in Gotham without being claimed a Gothamite. The world is toxic, the shadows hide threats, the vitamin D deficiency is real. Once they prove they have the grit to survive and the dedication to stay and love the city, Gotham will claim them. Gothamites have tangible differences from non-Gothamites. They have a large resistance to the toxins found in Gotham. The normal dose of things like fear gas and Joker venom would easily kill an outsider without meaning to, but Gothamites' natural resistance to toxins leaves just the intended effects. In general, they have a stronger immune system. Most Gothamites never even get the common cold. They have better night vision, so a dreary Gotham day is just as easy to see in as a warm, sunny one is to non-Gothamites. When the light catches them just right, their eyes shine like a cat's. They are much more durable than the average human, being able to walk off a minor stab wound or blunt force trauma, and they're even able to function with less blood in their system than normal humans. They also have a decreased healing time for long-term injury. Injuries that would kill or permanently cripple someone only take a few months to recover from. They also simply do not require as much vitamin D. They don't notice most of these differences exist, though, because every Gothamite is affected to some extent, and they don't tend to leave their city for long. Some Gotham natives believe that the rest of the world is just softer, or maybe there is something in the air or water that affects them. Though most don't even realize that there are any differences between them and the rest of the world. Gotham's favorites tend to have more prevalent differences, as well as additional attributes. Gotham's shadows cling to her favorites, living in their own shadow, moving of their own volition, covering them in a black as deep as void to hide them when needed. If they pay attention, other Gothamites can tell when they're in the presence of one of her favorites. So this is kind of what I mean when I say this is a lot of world-building AU kind of stuff. Just in general, I'd say there's 3 main versions of Gotham that live rent-free in my head. One version is that it's just a weird city with weird people and maybe a few too many chemicals in the water. Another version is a Gotham that has hidden but significant magical elements, like pockets of unreality, vampires, witches, and other magical creatures just living their lives in small, isolated communities. Information moves oddly in and out of the city, and maybe even time doesn't flow correctly. And then the last and most relevant to this one version of Gotham is the cursed to barely to semi-sentient Gotham, where the city is somewhat magic and living in it grants certain effects on its inhabitants. So this fic idea is one that leans clearly in this direction. When I initially was writing down ideas for this before I went back and polished it up, it didn't actually have a lot of these points that I just read over. I went back to add and expand on these elements because they existed is just in my head instead of written down, or in other fics where it had the same kind of vibe but not to the extent of this one. Meaning the bulk actually of the text for this fic until I updated it was the magical girl side of this idea. If you've read cursed/sentient Gotham fics before, you kind of know what I'm talking about when I say that it's cursed. Generally it's either the land itself is cursed, or over time it just got curse after curse laid onto it until it gained a level of sentience and everything spiraled from there. Gotham's presence just exists in the city, and she can tell what's going on, and sometimes she interferes. A lot of the effects Gotham gives her children are just practical. Like the healing thing is more of an effect of Lady Gotham trying to stop her population from dying out due to the excessive crime rate/violence. More of a necessity to keep things sustainable and habitable. Once a child of Gotham, you will always be hers, until the end of time. But those in her favor can lose it, though it is very hard to do so. Gotham has always favored the Waynes. Bruce has been favored since his birth. Alfred became a favorite soon after Martha and Thomas's death, when she saw how dedicated he was to taking care of Bruce. Dick was claimed as Gotham's child after only a few months, when it was clear he saw the city as his home. And he became favored when he dreamt up Robin as something to protect her streets for the first time. Barbara, as the daughter of the police commissioner, has been favored for as long as Jim held that role in pursuit of bettering her city. Jason always had Gotham's gaze since he ended up on the streets, so it only made sense that he became one of her favorites as soon as Bruce took him in. Tim became a favorite when it was clear how his parents did not love him or Gotham. So she stepped up to make sure her brilliant child, who loved her protectors so much, was protected himself. Steph gained Gotham's attention when she started running around on rooftops, and while it took a few months, she eventually fell onto the list of her favorites. Cass became one of Gotham's favorites pretty soon after she started spending time with Babs, certainly by the time she moved into the manor. Damien was easily recognizable as the ilk of her favored, so as soon as he first stepped into Gotham, he was claimed as hers and as one of her favorites, as was his birthright. Duke gained a place on Gotham's list of favorites during the We Are Robin movement. She was sure to protect her little protector. I like making sure I consider all of the Batfamily members when thinking up an AU idea like this. It's not necessary. You can include whoever you want. Different fics and authors have their own core Batfam, and I'm no different. This is the group that I like to focus on. So in AUs like this, I always like to consider Bruce, Alfred, Dick, Babs, Jason, Tim, Steph, Cass, Damien, and Duke in that order, and yes, it can be a lot. It's a lot of characters. And even if they don't show up in plot that I'm thinking of, or half of them don't live in the manor, or don't even live in Gotham for some of them, I just like to think about all of them. So different fics and authors have their own basic canons and headcanons they default to, and as someone who has basically just read fic, with the minor exceptions for a few comics, mine falls into that weird zone of not following one mainline continuity and instead just consisting of all my favorite bits that I've grouped together. You'll see another list like this later on. I love my lists, and I love all of these characters, even though they can be a lot, but I love them. Anyway, Gotham has a tendency to look out for children abandoned within her limits, even those not claimed as her children. While not classifying kids like street kids as her favorites, she does pay them more attention. Most any street kid can tell you of a time when the shadows beckoned them in, and they listened, finding themselves shielded just in time to miss a dangerous figure stalking through the street. It's a rare thing, but when Lady Gotham speaks, you listen. The street kids hold a higher reverence for Lady Gotham than your average Gothamite, Jason included. But this brings an end to what I would deem more as the curse half of this AU, and we are finally on to the magical girl portion. I didn't know what else to call it. So yeah, maybe in this AU, Gotham gives the vigilantes magical girl transformations. LOL. So they made their OG costumes, and eventually Gotham linked them with their costume, so one day they could just will their costume into existence. And edits they make when they actually take it off get added to the costume when they put it back on and detransform. And where this seemingly unrelated idea came from was actually me just imagining white-collar Jason revealing he's Red Hood by the helmet just materializing over his head with the rest of the outfit and going off as an unholy force. Yeah, that was me while reading a white-collar Batfam Jason is Notfic. That's where that came from. And where it went after this was straight into figuring out logistics. To me, figuring out how things work is fun. It may not be for everyone, but it is my jam. So I let myself have fun, And it also gives me the potential to be inspired for actual plot while figuring things out. So, the magical girl costume is made from Gotham's magic. So if something like a cape is taken off, if it's in Gotham, it will eventually be absorbed back in. But outside of Gotham, it will just stay existing. And either way, the next time they transform, they will have a new cape. But things like skin-tight suits or domino masks are sort of meshed with their skin, so they literally can't be taken off while transformed, meaning they can't be unmasked. While Magical Girl transformed, they don't actually need to do things like eat or go to the bathroom. They are temporarily sustained by pure magic, part of which comes from Gotham, but part can also come from the belief/faith/gratefulness people have in the vigilantes. So if they save more people, they're more magically full. They have a greater level of sensation in their costumes than normal clothes, but not in the way it doesn't offer protection from feelings of pain or discomfort. More like the way you can just tell when someone ghosts their fingers through your hair. If put in a magic nullification space while transformed, their costumes will just become real, meaning they can't de-transform from it, and their normal clothes will just be spurt into Gotham's magic void, and she'll just politely fold them and put them on their beds or something. Once Gotham claims someone as her protector, she doesn't let them die. And this, actually, is part of me adding some bad in with the good. It may not sound it at first, but it's a little bit of uh-oh energy. But yeah, I sometimes have trouble with fics that largely follow like the set timeline or continuity, but with some smaller AU element thrown in, having a downside to that AU element. While you don't strictly need it, I find adding some new twist, and that twist only resulted in good things happening, not very entertaining. So I like to try and figure out ways the AU can introduce new problems or make an existing situation worse. Though that second one can be harder because it can feel more mean, almost. One way this AU element introduces conflict is some minor existential dread over the fact that they no longer have control over their own death. Gotham would probably let them die if they asked, but maybe only if she thought it was best for them and the city would be fine without them. And what does that really even mean? There is some sort of power that comes with the ability to die, so having that fundamental aspect of life taken out of your hands is a little existentially screwy. Not quite in the there are fates worse than death aspect, but in the way that you don't actually have an end anymore. As far as you can tell, you could theoretically exist and just keep existing. And for like a career that messes you up as mentally as Vigilante does, that might not feel very comforting. Another way it can also introduce conflict is characters struggling to transform for the first time. Not quite as existential, but a bit more almost grounded, I'd say. Like, especially in comparison to characters who get it very quickly, it can add both internal conflict and interpersonal conflict. They could feel not good enough or smart enough for struggling with the transformation, or they could be jealous of another for seeming to not struggle when they did. Jason having a rough time figuring it out largely on his own, while Tim was able to get it down almost immediately. Like the better model. This could be new conflict or just enhancing and deepening existing conflict. Jason and Tim's Titan Tower discussion having some new material. Fun for all. Not really. Anyway, back to the not being able to die bit. The bats didn't notice for a while. Some close calls seemed a little too close, but it was always chalked up to luck. Not Gotham keeping their soul in their body, and their body working until it healed. It was only after Jason died that they realized. But not right after. The family was out on patrol. Batman, Nightwing, Batgirl, who is Cass, and Robin, who is Tim. When the situation goes bad, and most of them are knocked down for a few moments, and during that time, someone gets their hands on Nightwing and Robin, and is threatening the others not to do anything by pointing guns at their heads. It looks like they're going to shoot Robin, so as their hand is tightening, Nightwing moves and they turn their attention and shoot him on instinct, in the head. Robin flips out and practically mauls the guy, and the others get loose. At the end, Tim is begging Nightwing to wake up, and Bruce is heartbroken. But after a bit, while they're waiting for the Batmobile, Dick stirs and actually does wake up, and they're like, bleh? In both the what the fuck way and the happy way. They go back to the cave for cuddles and the next day do some tests and bring in the Justice League Dark members to help. And then they figure out that Gotham has a hold on their life forces, and unless she decides otherwise, they might live forever. It's then they're like, what about Jason? And they're like, shit! And go check the grave and find his body is not there. And it looks like he broke himself out of the coffin. Well, balls. And this would not have to be followed exactly. It could be completely changed, honestly, if an actual plot was thought up and something else fit better. But this is the general idea of how I thought they could figure this out. And the reason Jason took longer to revive than Dick, like getting shot in the head right there, was A, he got hurt, / died outside of Gotham, so her powers were much more limited, basically restricted to keeping his soul bound, but not healing him. And B, because he was much more extensively hurt, so it took time to fix all the complex elements wrong with him. Like, getting shot in the head is relatively simple compared to being beaten up with a crowbar, tortured to death, and exploded. Like, that kind of all that mess. That's a mess. So it took a while. And further on the logistics, little adding in, Jason's costume turned to a normal costume after he was blown up, as Gotham decided to use all the potent magic used to keep it running magically in order to keep his soul healthy and tethered to his body. This, unfortunately, contributed to the image that Jason had died for realsies. Jason is unable to transform into Robin after his death. He thinks either death or Gotham took it away from him, when the truth is, he just doesn't feel enough connection to the identity. So after he's back in Gotham and has been Red Hood long enough for it to feel a part of him, he gains the ability to transform into Red Hood. And at this point, this is when I'm like, it's really funny how this is turned into the Magical Girl AU instead of the Cursed Gotham AU. Especially considering how the bulk of the cursed text, ideas, didn't exist at this point, and I went and added them back in retrospectively. But this is the thing, if an idea doesn't have enough to sustain itself, you can just add more flavor on. Like I said, the cursed Gotham is kind of just a version of Gotham that exists in my head to be tacked on to some other story. Like the elements with its specific Gotham specifically drawing her citizens back and being more possessive, not that necessarily. That was more of the new element I was thinking in. But just the cursed aspect on its own wasn't enough for me to get any real ideas about stories that could take place. Like, the whole discovering they can't die could definitely be just a one-shot, but it wasn't particularly inspiring to me. So while this did solely start out as a Cursed Gotham AU, when I later got the Magical Girl idea, I decided to look through my more bare bones fic ideas to find one that could mesh well with it, and decided this was the one I wanted to just stick it onto. And yeah, I was just reading a white collar Jason Isneil fic where in it, Jason was revealing he was Red Hood before jumping into a dangerous situation, and I just thought, wouldn't it be so cool if he could summon all his gear at the same time he said it? And I just needed that in my life. So I decided to write that into my life. So from there, from that just initial spark of idea, I came up with the rest of it, thinking about logistics first, and then thinking more about how it would interact with the cursed element. Which sort of brings us into the next little bit. As soon as a bat gains her favor, her claiming them as her protector comes hand in hand. So they have the ability to transform, even if they don't realize it. Bruce is where the ability originates. Gotham thinks it up for him, based on a few things she's done in the past, in both an attempt to protect one of her favorites, and with the desire to gain a true protector. He figures out that he can do it after an event where he's caught up in a rogue attack at a gala as Bruce Wayne, and while he's able to slip away, he doesn't have access to his suit, so he can't do anything. But then, suddenly, he finds himself in full Batman attire, so he jumps into the fight and decides to question things later. And this happens near the start of his career, so he doesn't have contacts with people from the Justice League, as it doesn't exist yet, so he's forced to rely on the magic users that live in Gotham, and he's able to find one that tells him about the strong connection Gotham has established between them, like the bond she has with her favorites, but even deeper, giving him access to a power they've never seen before. So Bruce, while trusting that Gotham would never intentionally hurt him, goes through a rigorous testing process, testing everything he possibly can about the transformation power. Not sure if Alfred would figure it out, but he also has the ability to transform, but it's just his normal suit plus a domino mask. Because Dick knows about Bruce's ability when he starts dreaming up Robin, he decides to wish to Gotham to transform into the suit he designs, which doesn't work at first. But when he complains to Alfred, the man suggests that he just doesn't have enough details worked out, and he must be very familiar with what he wants, and to be able to picture it in his mind's eye before he'll be able to transform, which is all just an educated guess, but ends up working. Because after more thorough design sessions and late-night visualization practices, he finds that when he opens his eyes one time while trying to summon his imagined Robin costume, it works. Barbara starts off with her homemade Batgirl costume, but after Batman agrees to take her on as an official sidekick/partner, Dick excitedly tells her all about the transformation powers and how they work, to which she responds by going about it in a detailed, methodical manner, and finds she's able to transform after only a few days of practice. Jason doesn't have anyone to really walk him through how to transform. Alfred tries, but the visualization thing just doesn't work for him, so he ends up going out in a real costume for a while. It's only after he truly feels like he's Robin that he finds he's suddenly able to transform. Tim already had some idea that the suits were magic and granted by Gotham, so he already had some theories on how they worked. So after his first time wearing the Robin suit to save Batman and Nightwing, he was able to figure out how to transform with only minimal instruction from the others, because he needed to be Robin. And with how long he's been watching Robin, picturing the suit was not an issue for him. Steph had been spoiler for some time before she was really brought into the fold. Under Tim and Bab's instructions, she took up visualization/meditation practices to help her transform, but they really weren't doing anything for her. So eventually she got fed up enough to be like, this is dumb. Why do I have to imagine I'm Spoiler? I am Spoiler. And suddenly, she'd been transformed. Cass was able to really feel the connection to Gotham, and after she'd had time to really think about what she wanted to be, she was able to transform into Batgirl. Damian struggled at first. Magic is finicky, and Gotham wants what's best for all her people above what's best for her favorites. And he didn't come into Gotham very sure of himself or centered, or knowing who he wanted to be. But after some time, when he finally understood what being Robin was about, he was able to transform. Duke was somewhat of a natural. When he narrowed in on what Signal would really be like and look like, he was able to build up his transformation until it was realized. And that is the second list I kind of hinted on, and actually the end of the pre-written brainstorm. I have a little bit more to ramble on about this, but we're basically at the end. But yeah, so this last little list specifically related to their transformations. One helps me kind of build up a rough mental timeline for when these things happen, but more importantly, I just feel like different characters have different styles that they'd be able to transform into the first time. So this helps build upon characterization and also how the universe's world building works. So like for a lot of them, they could have gone a different direction than I specified, but these were just the ones I felt were best. So like not all of them would feel connected to something methodical and logical. For some, being vigilantes is more about feelings, so it only makes sense that that's how they feel connected enough to the identity to transform. These sorts of AU explorations both explore fun ideas like the whole curse and magical girl stuff, but they can also delve deeper into the different aspects of a character. Even among like this same writer, two versions of a character from two different fics of theirs may look completely different, but that's just because they're playing up specific aspects of that character that lives in their heads. It's whatever makes sense plot-wise for the story to make it work, but also the events that they've experienced in the story that like deviate from canon and how that would affect them. And also when it comes to original writing, I actually feel like this sort of thing is really helpful. I like doing these kinds of AU ideas with original characters because it can be both fun and a good way to narrow down on characterization. I personally kind of struggle with making OCs, like compared to making original plots and worlds, because characters are the one thing fanfic has always like laid out for me. So it really helps me being able to treat original characters more like fanfic characters and be able to explore them in the way I do characters in fanfic. But yeah, that is just a little thing that helps me that might help you. But anyway, that is all. That is all I have written down in the main document and all the little notes I wanted to bring up. But I hope that was entertaining. Yeah, kind of a clash of ideas / aesthetics first when you hear Curse Gotham / Magical Girl. And like any good magical girl, it has a little that existential dread tied to like Gotham being like, these are my protectors, I'm giving them magical powers, but also they can't die unless I say so. No. But yeah, not really any plot going on here. I'm not sure if it's as entertaining to listen to me talk about when it doesn't have a plot structure or any stuff for me to read out that is similar to how an actual fic would be laid out. But this was like an idea I thought was entertaining enough to share, and I had enough to talk about that expanded both on like my thoughts of the Batman like fandom and fanon and all that, and also how AUs like this can be used. So I thought it was worthwhile to try out. But yes, I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. if you did, the link to the document where all of like my bullet points are written down is in the description. So like the planning doc is there. And feel free to take anything you heard in this fic, like world-wise, whatever little plot scraps may have been in here wise, anything, and use it in like your own writing, your own inspiration. If you're using something more like one-to-one direct, I would appreciate being credited like on AO3 if it's there, the inspired by kind of thing. That would be nice, but just in general, just do whatever you want with this kind of stuff. I'm sharing it with y'all, so you can have it. But anyway, yes, that is all for this time. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to me ramble, and I will see you guys next time.